You're listening to Free Mama Radio, where we believe you can have both a successful business and show up as the mom you want to be. I'm your host, Lauren Golden, a mom who built a full-time income working part-time hours. Now, I help other moms like you learn how to work from home on your own terms, take control of your schedule, and make more money so you can live a totally awesome, guilt-free life. I am on a mission to make sure that no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. So if you've been wondering, can I really have it all? This podcast will give you the answers. So exciting because I have a new friend here with me today. We met briefly when I got to be on her awesome podcast a few weeks ago. Her name is Heather Grecco, and I'm going to introduce you guys to her briefly, and then we're going to have a awesome conversation. Before we dive into the conversation, though, we both have something really special on our desk that we can't wait to share with you. So following the crumbs and chaos is a full-time job for productivity coach Heather Grecco. As a busy mom of three, we have that in common, and founder of Chaos and Cookies, which is her amazing podcast. Keeping moms from crumbling is her main objective. After gaining 10 plus years experience as a director of marketing, helping build multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses for other women, she created a chaos control system to equip moms to overcome their own objections so they can live the life they want to live and start the business they've always wanted. The family playbook, or standard operating procedure, is the tool every mama needs to save time and stress less when chaos ensues at home. And for the new business owners, which is who you're talking to today, Heather, she also helps simplify systems on social media and other platforms to automate processes to get their business up and running quickly and efficiently with how-to tutorials and hands-on coaching. She has helped hundreds of women to be more productive and self-sufficient. I love that, by the way, self-sufficient in their homes and businesses, allowing them to reclaim control of the chaos. Heather, welcome to Free Mama Radio. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and so great seeing you again.
I know. So Heather and I connected a few weeks ago, and as you guys heard, her podcast is called Chaos and Cookies. And so she does my little intro or whatever, and she's like, okay, what's your favorite cookie? And if any of you guys know me, I got like immediately extremely excited because I very much like food, but more importantly, I very, very much have a sweet tooth. And so I told Heather, I said, okay, I know you're coming on Free Mama Radio in a few weeks. I'm going to bring a cookie. So this is not my favorite cookie that I shared with you guys, but this is the cookie that I have. I have an entire batch of Trader Joe's soft baked peanut butter chocolate chip cookies. I'm not going to lie, they're pretty good. I won't eat it while we're talking, but I'm probably going to have like 2 afterwards. And I know when I told Heather I was going to do that she ran and got one too. You've already started eating it. What is it?
Well, I don't have my favorite either. And so I had these because I was going to make a charcuterie board, and I like to put something sweet on there. And so they're Rayanitas, and they're like these like cracker with chocolate. They're like Mexican cookies, I guess. And they're fantastic. They're amazing. Delicious. I feel like they're chocolate flavored filled biscuits is what they call it, but they are delicious.
But it's awesome. So where did the name of your podcast come from? Like, do you like to make cookies? Do you like to eat cookies? Is it just a nice alliteration? Like, I think a lot of us can relate to where the chaos comes from, and we'll talk a little bit about your chaos. We all have it. But when did you decide to make a podcast? Like, what was your motivation, and where did the name of it come from for you?
So coming up with a name was extremely difficult. I love me a good alliteration. And I was at the movies, and I was just trying to think of something. And so I was at the movies, and it was like one of those things that you can like eat. They have like a menu and stuff. And I was looking, and I was like, ooh, chaos and cocktails would be a really great, name, because it's like, there's lots of chaos. I need a freaking cocktail. I'm a mom. I got 3 kids. But then I was like, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into like, what if I am like, what people don't drink, right? So I do a chaos and cocktail hour, but I nixed that. So chaos and cookies is I have 3 kids. I like to be efficient, and I like to keep it clean, but no matter how much you clean, there's always crumbs, no matter what, when you have kids. Like, I have crumbs all over my desk now. I'm like eating these. So chaos and cookies. I also do so it has nothing to do with the bakery. I get all the time, like on LinkedIn, people are like, hey, like, what's your bakery? And I'm like, I don't have a bakery. Like, if you knew me, this is what it meant. So chaos and cookies, meaning my life is full of chaos and cookies and the crumbs, and keeping moms from crumbling is the tagline.
That's so cute. And so what does that mean to you? Like, you personally, like, you said you worked with all these 7 and 8 figure or 6 and 7 figure business owners, and you kind of wanted to get into it for yourself. And I think that's probably around the time you started your podcast. Like, what does this mean for you in your own personal life? Like, take us back to how you became the director of marketing, and what did that look like, balancing that and working with these, high achieving entrepreneurs and managing your own chaos at home. Like, what were kind of your highs and lows that eventually led to like your framework for helping other moms?
Sure. So I went to school for exercise science. I did that for a long time, and then I fell into sales and marketing in the legal world. And I really quickly realized that it's all relationship based, and I was able to get a lot of loyal clients to where I would always show up for them. I deliver for them no matter what. And moving from like company to company in the same space, I noticed that like all the relationships that I had built brought me through all the time, no matter what. And I feel like when I'm now coaching, I coach a lot of social media, I coach a lot of moms on the sales side of things, that relationship and authenticity is number one. People can sniff it out. And if you're not being authentic and you're not being your true self and you're not being you, then you're really not going to be attracting the person that you really do want to help in your business. And it took me a really long time to fall and be comfortable with that in myself, because I, with social media and things like that, like you only put out what you want people to see. And when something big happens in your life and you do share about it, people will, look at you with the rose-colored glasses and be like, oh, I wouldn't really think that this could be happening to you because it's not really something that looks like it, right? So dealing with and working with these women and entrepreneurs, they're moms, they're trying to start a business, they're trying to find themselves. And I think in the process, when they are trying to market themselves and their business, they are doing some self-searching as well. Like, what is it that they think they want to teach? And then, oh, well, this is what they want from me. Is this something I really want to teach these people? Like for me, I didn't go out and start my business going to go and help social media. I fell into it. I'm good at it. It's what people need and want from me. I'm good at it. I don't mind it. I enjoy it. But what I really wanted was to teach moms to find themselves and run their home like a business and be more efficient, because there's no such thing as balance, in my opinion. It's all about controlling the chaos and really finding a nice balance, but a nice way to be able to control what you can, which is yourself. You cannot really control others. Obviously, you can't really control your environment. You can to a point, but there's going to be things that happen. Like you can't control, like your finger, like you can't control the waves and you break your finger. My child went down the hill and broke her wrist because she fell down her bike. Like she had her helmet on, like we had safeties in place. Basically being able to control as much as you can, being very organized, being very efficient, and being really mindful with your time so you can control, you more, whether that be you go take your time and take some quiet time, whether that be you working on your business, whether you taking time with your kids. You want to make sure that it's the safest space possible. And I feel like moms do everything, and we always feel like we can't come first. And it's very important that when we are starting a business, it's your kids are watching us do it, setting time aside, saying, no, this is the time I'm working on my business, and you're setting boundaries. And they're also learning, okay, if it's important to mom, it should be important to me and your spouse. And if it's not, then maybe it's something else you gotta have to look forward to as well. So just trying to not find that gentle balance between chaos and control and not feeling so out of control.
Sure.
Self-sufficiency is huge. My soon-to-be ex-husband was always traveling. So when I tell people I change air filters in my house, I do plumbing, I'll have to patch drywall if I have to. They're like, oh, I'm like, well, you do what you have to do to keep your house functional. You want to learn about every little thing because you want to know if that's something you need to call somebody, or maybe you could wait on it. But feeling like you're not dependent on somebody all the time is also very important as well. Like create your own destiny, whether that be in your house, your business, your life, anything like that.
Where do you think that came from you? Like if you think back to your own childhood or like experiences early on, in either your marriage or, you know, when your kiddos were younger, like maybe share with us a time like you felt like you were crumbling, and like how were you able to like get a little bit more control, but still how do you personally maybe, because I'm a control freak too. And so one of my biggest challenges is like I want to be in control of everything. And so for me, what's actually harder is not learning to be self-sufficient. It's learning to like let go of the things I can't control. Like, can you maybe tell a story in your marriage or parenting where you have felt like you were crumbling and how you kind of regrouped from that, maybe using the framework you would walk someone else through?
Sure. I mean, there's a couple of different ways and times that I felt out of control. When I went to school for college, I went to go play soccer. I was a collegiate athlete, and I got injured very early on. I ended up having a back surgery that resulted in a really bad staph infection. I couldn't walk. I lost a lot of weight. I lost complete control over how I was able to get better. I was on all these medications. I had to be very patient and learn how to walk again. I couldn't even like put my own socks on. It was very debilitating, and it didn't even fix the problem. And I was in a lot of pain for a long, long time. And then I just had another surgery a few years ago, which fixed it, but it took a long time for me to really like gain the courage to take that step and really trust someone to fix it right. But those years, those 13 years, I didn't have a lot of control of what I could do. Like if I wanted to go skiing or try something new, I really couldn't because I was going to be in a lot of pain. So it really held me back in life. And even with my kids, like I couldn't even give my kids baths every night. So I'd have to hire a nanny, and people would look at me like, oh, well, you're not raising your kids, or you're not. And I'm like, you know what? I am raising my kids, but I know my limits. And if I can't give my 3 children baths because I'm going to be stuck on the couch, then what good of a mom am I really going to be? And so really adapting and knowing when to ask for help, or really knowing what kind of tools you can bring into place to get you to be the best person that you can be. In my marriage, I was in a very controlling marriage. He was very controlling. He controlled everything that I did. And it was to the point where I didn't realize that I was not in control. I thought that I was doing the things that helped the situation, and it actually hindered me further. And getting out of that toxic cycle is really what has helped me build my business now. I wanted to create my own destiny by creating this business. I wanted to give, I have the chaos control system, like you mentioned earlier. When I stopped working in the corporate world a few years ago, again, I didn't have control over my own career because they decided that they were going to sell and they were acquired. And so I had to make the decision to go with the new company or to leave. I didn't get a chance to decide, really. And I had non-compete. So it was like, right? So I had non-compete. And then I'm in the situation with my husband. And so I took things in my own destiny, and I became a health and wellness coach, which is what I went to school for. Again, working for another company. I also saw writing on the wall that she may or may not be selling, or she's going to go take her business in this direction, and I actually have to like do what they want. So I didn't want to put all my eggs in the basket, because if she decides to go sell it and I have all my eggs in this one basket, then what? Then I'm stuck with nothing again. So I wanted to create Chaos and Cookies to help women, help moms get better, healthy, help them in nutrition, help them start their own business and make their own destiny, because I needed to create some sort of financial income for myself so I could leave my situation. He controlled everything I did because he was the one that worked, and I stayed home with the kids, and it sounded like a really great thing. Well, I've always had income. I've always had a job. And when I didn't have that legal business, I didn't like asking for money, or anytime I spent money, it sounded like I was spending his money. It was a very, very hard lesson to learn. Like, I make the money, I make the rules type situation. And I was like, well, that's not really the case. And so I was like, well, fine, I'm going to make my own money and make my own rules. And so I created this so I could write a check later if I needed to get out. I did a chaos control system where bringing in help when you have someone always trying to control situations is very difficult. And so having like a child care or some sort, I was very meticulous on how I did things. I have a very like rigid schedule because it makes it predictable. And when you're in an unpredictable situation, predictability is key. Maintaining the chaos is key, because if it's chaos here, I got to make sure that this is all put together. Mm-hmm. And so when I created the system, it was a way for me to eliminate excuses. Because if you have a spouse that does XYZ and you do ABC, you need to learn what XYZ is to feel comfortable taking that and being like, I can do XYZ too. I don't need that. I don't need this BS. Like, I can do this myself. And so I created this system where it's everything from the kids' schedules, what they eat, where you can find it in the house, the 3 places you should check if it's not there. Because if I'm out here trying to make things happen for me, because I have a narrative I'm trying to fulfill, I don't have time for someone to be texting me if I'm like hiring someone new or have a sitter. Hey, where's this? Where's that? How many lists have you ever made? Where's the list go when you go out of town? Probably in the trash. It has all your flight information. It has the hotel you're staying at, all your emergency numbers. You write it down for whomever, even if it's your brother-in-law, right? And then you probably throw it away when you get home. This system is there and it's digital and you can keep it up to date. So then it's like a manual for your home. So it's like, hey, go check page 4. I don't have time. Like, go check page 4. If it's not in the freaking book, then you can call me. And pretty much it's probably there.
So your standard operating procedure literally was like a tool you developed to assist you with taking back control over your own life while getting the support to enable you to go do that.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of us will make excuses for
absolutely why we can't do it. Yeah.
Right. So for me, my excuse when I was trying to leave and get out of a relationship, I don't have a job. I don't have financial income now, like on my own. So that was a barrier for me. Now that might not be a barrier for somebody else. They might just be like, nope, I don't need it. But for me, I've always made money, and not making money was very uncomfortable for me because I don't like to be reliant on anybody else. I mean, even if it was a great marriage and he died on a freaking airplane, like, what would happen? Like, okay, great, health insurance or life insurance, great, wonderful. I still have to figure out what bank accounts we have and what bills we have to pay. And I don't have all that information if he has it all up here. So I need to also make sure that I put it somewhere, whether that be a healthy relationship or not, because it's very important to know those things. Because the worst thing is what if your one spouse goes into a coma? If you don't have all that information, it's going to take you a really long time to get all that information together. So having it in one central place where someone could come in and even step in for beneficiary stuff. Or I had a client that her husband had a widowmaker. He was in the hospital for a long time. It took her a long time to get all the information that he had in his office somewhere, accumulate, and then give it to her mom and be like, I need you to call the bank on this. I need you to call the insurance company on that. If it's all in one place, it's like, okay, just check the insurance information. I need you to call them. It's right there. And it makes people more self-sufficient on their own while freeing mom up to do what she needs to do when chaos does like ensue, because you don't know when things are going to happen ever. Right. So it could be one of 2 ways. It could be a tool to eliminate the excuses. Like, now I have all this information. I know what my car warranty is. I know what's covered. I know what's not. I don't need that. Or it's when something happens to a spouse where it's like, you just feel more prepared.
Yeah.
Because you're not you always think about it like, oh, that would have been nice if I had that in place.
And you developed that tool.
For me, you do it now. You prepare for the worst and hope for the best is basically where I'm at. Like, you will never, ever knock yourself for being too prepared, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's so smart. Well, I can't wait to check out your chaos control system. And yeah, we just recently sat down and finally did our, like our will and opened up, a trust and all of that stuff. And it's like, I mean, our oldest is about to turn 10. It's like literally for a decade, we've been talking about it. And we finally did it. And as I was sharing that with some of my students, I could just tell that they were like, oh God, we haven't done that. Like that, it's a thing. I think, yeah, it's so very, very smart. Good on you. Now I know that you work with a lot of brand new business owners, and you've talked about like excuses of people getting started. What else do you see coming up from moms? Because that's my audience too, right? Like they're just, everybody listening, a lot of them, they're just getting started, and I see all kinds of reasons that prevent people from wanting to take that step forward. Either what you kind of shared what that was for you, what do you see among your students, whether it's, you know, the business, the social media, whatever, and how do you help work through that with them as a productivity coach? Like, how do you help them find those action items to kind of persevere when it's always easier not to?
Sure. So the biggest hurdle that my clients come to me is the social media side and the technology side and the things that they think they know, but then they're like, oh, I don't. And so you're on social media for like personal reasons, and you're, you know, posting and interacting, and then you're like, oh, I want to start a business. And so they start a business, or they're thinking they want to do something different. The thing when you work in corporate, they give you the marketing material, they give you the business cards, they give you the marketing plan. You just go out and you go sell it. Or you do your job or whatever. When you're creating your own business, you got to create the marketing materials, you got to create the slogans, you got to create the funnels, and you have to keep up with the newsletters or hire someone to do it, like a VA. And so looking at your strengths, like what do you like to do? Do you just want to talk about it and someone else do the newsletter or someone else do the back end stuff? Or do you like doing that? Or do you need someone just help you set it up and then you learn how to maintain it? Learning where their strengths and weaknesses are. And I've got women that are all like, I've got one that doesn't even know how to download a file to a PDF. So I will sit there with her and I will help her click it, drag it, save it, because that's what she needs. Helping with technology. I've got others that they send me spreadsheets of their entire social media plan and like, okay, this is what I want to do for the next 2 months. What kind of ideas do you have to help me market? I'm like, great, love this, right? So it's basically where and how you function. And so a big hurdle for a lot of women that I work for is who they are, what they do, and who they need to speak to, instead of looking at the noise. Because social media is where I live. You have to remember that we don't own social, and that they're giving us what they think we want to see, right? The algorithm is feeding us other people that they think we like. And so we have to go and find the people that we really do want to speak through hashtags or anything like that. But if you were in like an MLM, I do a lot of network marketers. And I work for the Faster Way, which is a faster way to fat loss. And so a lot of coaches, and I coach a lot of the Faster Way coaches in business and social, and helping them how to do quick tricks on their phone, like the keyboard trick with keyword replacement. Like you can do your hashtags and you can just type out mega and it'll spit out all the big ones. Boom, time saving tip. So those types of situations where I try to get them out of their mind space, because when you join an MLM, you start to follow other people in the business. So a lot of the Faster Way coaches follow other Faster Way coaches. Great. However, they're going to follow you back. So the algorithm is just going to feed you their stuff. So the mindset is, oh, I can't post about the sale or this round coming up because they're all posting about it. And my people are going to be really tired of looking at it. And so I have to teach them, no, your people aren't going to see the 1,600 people you're following. They're only going to see you. So you need to stay true to you, and you need to really speak to them about what you really want to talk with them about, and put the blinders on and not be distracted by what other people are doing. Because I think that then is like, well, I can't talk about that because Susie and Judy and all of them are posting about it too. It's like, well, they're not seeing Susie and Judy. They're only seeing you. And it's doing your people that are going to buy from you and you're trying to help a disservice by not still talking about it just because these people are, right? Mm-hmm. So staying really true and really focused on what your goal is for your person, and not be distracted by what everyone else is doing, because they're all doing what you are doing too, but they're speaking to their people about the same thing because y'all work for the same company. So it's really just a mindset game.
Yeah. So we don't have network marketers in our community, so we don't have that exact same challenge. But what I see is like you said, and I think I like chimed in unison. It's like these platforms are giving us what they think we want to see. And we only see a small percentage of what the people we follow post anyway. And so it's about showing up, like you're saying, show up and be consistent about who you are for the people you're trying to connect with, because they're not going to see it all anyway. Like my students, a lot of my students, their biggest challenge is they think they can talk about it once. And then it's like,
oh no.
And I'm like, no, we can't, like, you have to show up again and you have to show up again because only, 2% of people saw it. Only 2% of those 2% of people actually read it and paid attention and actually digested it. And so it's that repetition and consistency, which is what I hear.
Put it everywhere and put it everywhere. Just because they're checking here doesn't mean they're going to check over there. And it's okay. And honestly, so video is huge, right? The video is huge because 85-90% of us will not buy something unless we've seen a video first.
Yeah, I just saw actually
when you talk about a lead,
because it's changed. Yeah. It's increasing. Yeah.
It's increasing. And also with lead magnets, like I always tell my clients that when they pitch a lead magnet, oh, well, I mentioned it one time. It's like, you have to talk when you're talking live or on a video, you need to mention it 3 times. And it's going to sound super repetitive when you're talking for even 2 minutes and you mention it 3 times, but the brain isn't going to catch it. The person watching it is going to catch the 3rd time. Yeah. It's just like when you go to a function, and there's a reason why we wear our name tag on our right lapel. Because when you go and shake someone's hand and say, hi, my name is, they are not listening to your name. They are looking at the lapel of your name tag and reading your name. They're not hearing your name. So that's why you say it again. And you also are going in as a right hand, like you're shaking a hand. That's like where your eyes go. That's why your name is on your lapel, because the brain isn't taking in the information that you're talking. And it takes a good 15 seconds to let it register. Same thing on social. You're talking for 22 minutes or 2 minutes, let's say. You have to say it again and again and again, or they're going to miss it.
Well, what you're really talking about, and we could go down a whole tangent and we won't today, but like what you're really talking about is attention span, right? And even at the function when we're introducing ourselves and it's a 10-second transaction, our attention span can't even concentrate on what they're saying. We're too busy thinking about what we're about to say, right? So if you're leaning forward saying like, hi, my name's Heather Grecco, I'm sitting here going, I'm about to say, my name is Lauren Gold. We're already on the next thing. And I see this, I've read some things a lot recently, Heather, I don't know if you've caught any of this about, I've seen a lot of people apologizing because there's like if you were to tell me something happened to you and I were to try to connect to you by telling a story about like a time when something similar happened to me, have you seen these? It's been happening a lot. And people are saying, and I do this, I don't know if you do this, a lot of people do this, but they're actually saying that it is like a lower emotional intelligence when we do this. And the reason why is because of like, instead of focusing on you and your story and how I can support you, even if the intention's good that I'm trying to make a connection with you, I'm making assumptions about like what you would want to hear or how you're experiencing the situation or what you might need to say next. And I'm like kind of taking I'm like, even though I'm doing it with the good intention to make connection, it's like, I don't know. I've been seeing this everywhere. I know Glennon Doyle did a podcast. I think like Mel Robbins or somebody posted about it recently, but anyway, it's fascinating. But anyway, we won't go down a whole tangent of the brain, but
it's like one-upping each other. Like you're trying to connect with them. You're trying to say, oh, me too.
Right. But you don't actually know.
Taking away. Yes. It's taking away from the person, like going through what I'm going through right now in my divorce. People are trying to help you because it's a very uncomfortable situation that I've gone through. I've gone through an abusive relationship. I've been dealing with a lot of things that were very hidden to a lot of people, and also not so much hidden to others. And so it makes people uncomfortable when they ask me about it. And I have to decide if it's something I want to share or if it's something that I want to bring back a little bit. Because one, I don't want to trigger somebody else. Because of what I've gone through, it usually will trigger something with someone, whether that be with them personally or someone that they knew, right? So then what happens is I talk to them about something because they've asked me a question. I share it and they're like, oh yeah, well, my dad or my blah, blah, blah did this too, or I know someone. And so, yes, they're trying to connect because it's an uncomfortable situation for them. But if they're asking me how I'm doing, that's not the place to show, like, not an opinion, but it's just the way that our brains work. You're just trying to make them feel like they're not alone and that you want to relate to them somehow, some way. And yes, I have read that it gets very difficult. Sorry, my dog is barking in the background. Chaos in the house.
I'll have
so
a cookie here
about it. Yeah, right. We've learned about the fact that, like, very early on, that opinions do not equal support. Opinions are for another time. If you are asking, or someone's asking something about you and they are trying to support you, or you're in need of support, that is not the time for you to offer up an opinion unless A, you ask, like, can I give you my opinion? Or B, you just sit there, you support, you hear them. And then at a later date, you can say, hey, you mentioned this and I haven't, I like to share my opinion on it if you like, because not all the time when someone is sharing something with you or talking about something, they don't want to hear about it. They just want to be heard. Right. And that's in business too.
For sure. And I think this kind of drives the point home. Is like, and again, I'm so guilty of this. I'll be the first to admit, but like, it's like when you do that, your intention can be connection. But to your point, Heather, it's like, if someone is kind of reaching out for support, they don't need your connection. They just need you to love them. They just need you to hold the space. They just need you to be there. Opinions are next level. We're all moms listening. I'm sure everyone at some point, like through your pregnancy or having a newborn, like we all know what that feels like to get that unsolicited advice that we could have done without.
Right. It's like, oh man. But you also learn as a mom too. I think after you become a mom for a while and you hear mom stuff or business stuff, what I typically say is, not my life, not my problem, not my kid. I'm just going to sit and listen. And if they ask me for advice, I'll give it, but not my place, right? Because we learn that in parenting, every kid is different. I've had 3 children. They're all very different. I parent them all 3 different ways. Yeah. I try to parent them the same, but we all, and they receive information differently. Mm-hmm. I mean, so you have to know how the best way to communicate with people.
Well, information definitely seems to be something you are very, very good at collecting and helping other women collect with your family playbook and the chaos control system. So before we wrap up, I'd love to hear, like, for someone sitting there listening who's like, oh my gosh, I have way more chaos than control. Like, how do I start to kind of like rein it in a little? Like, can you give us like maybe 3 steps, like three things that they can either start to think about or start to implement or start to gather to kind of get a little bit further from the chaos and a little bit more to feeling like they've got it all together?
Yeah, absolutely. So since we're all moms that are trying to figure out how to make things work, I always say you run your home like a business too. Because if you don't have a business, you still run your home like a boss, because hey, we've got dinner to make and we got bills to pay, we got schedules to keep. It is just like a business and you're the CEO of it. And so 3 quick things for moms and business owners, or even just moms. My kids, for instance, they are 8, 6, and 4. They can put their own clothes on. Now, can they pick out what they need to wear? Nah, maybe. If I told my 8-year-old, he could. And every day is different. Like, so a really good tip that I have now been able to utilize is, like those like shoe, like those things you buy at like Target, and they have like 5 or 10. It's like they're like shoe things that you can stick in. So if you get one of those, you put them in one in each of your closets. Sunday, you go and you roll up or whatever every day of the week in there. Crazy sock day. You got like whatever crazy hat day. You don't want your kid to be the only one that shows up, or it's that morning of, and you're like, oh, that email, that's today, isn't it? Oh, crap. Right? So you put it in ahead of time. So then in the morning, your kid can go to the little square, pull out what they need, and put the money in their pocket if they need $1 for whatever it is that day. And they are more self-sufficient. They're not looking at what they need to wear. It's already laid out. Maybe you picked it out with them on Sunday, but it's right there. They're not going to grab Wednesday. Well, maybe they will, but like hopefully for the most part, you're setting them up for success. One less thing for you to do. So then you can get them breakfast faster, or you can, you know, take that extra 5 minutes in the shower because they are good to go. That's one. Two, meals when you're cooking. Like, okay, we have to cook if we're also working from home. We still have a family if you're the cook. I learned this from one of the cookbook authors that I've interviewed on my podcast. You get these bins, clear bins, whatever, cubes, and you go and like, how many of us go and make 3 meals for the week? You buy like 1 onion for one of the meals, right? You got this one random onion rolling around your drawer. Well, you put everything that you need for each of those meals in this container and you put it in your fridge. That's including spices. Wow. That's including the tools that you might need, like the slicer or the peeler. You put it all in there. So then when you go to cook your dinner, you grab the bin and it's all there. You're not looking for the random onion or the extra spice. Like, you put it all there in one spot and then you're good to go. It saves you all the time of running around, so you can continue your conference call or listen to whatever podcast you are without being like distracted.
And your meals are so fresh. Like, you're not cooking them all in advance. You're just preparing the meals all in advance. I love that. I have not heard either of those tips, I must say. So kudos on you. Do you have a third one?
Yeah, I do. So the third one would be, what I was known for, and it's not for everyone, but since COVID, when you go and pick up your kids up from school, I'm a big proponent of multitasking. Like, I will multitask a hell of an hour. Laundry is my kryptonite, because when you do laundry, where are you? You have to sit in one spot. You can't really walk around the house while folding stuff. Not really, unless you have like a rolling table. So when COVID happened,
that's like, it got a little counter off of it. Hey,
that's actually
we're gonna patent that. Idea. We're going in on that together.
Oh, we're in. I'm doing it. We're gonna get some suspenders and we're just gonna have a little table and we can lift it and have like all the socks and all the folded stuff that you fold on top and just,
I'll send you a prototype today. I'll send you a prototype.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going.
Until that's ready, what do we do?
Yeah. So basically what was happening is I used to have a nanny that was helping me, because laundry was like when they would do the kids stuff. And when you have little kids, they have more laundry than anybody, because there's little tiny shirts. And so one day I was folding, I was finally in the mode, and then my alarm goes off at 2:30, like, oh, it's time for me to go pick up the kids. Because of COVID, we didn't have anyone to help us, because we were all like, no, don't come in my house. Right. So I was like, man, I'm in the zone, and I got to go pick them up, and I got to come home, and then they're going to walk all over it and they're going to unfold everything. I'm like, screw it. So I was like, it was one of those flexible baskets, and I just grabbed my basket, went to my car and put it in the front seat, like the passenger seat. You drive to the carpool because we're not allowed to get out anymore, and you sit for 45 minutes. So what a waste of 45 minutes, other than checking social media, going down a rabbit hole, wasting time, maybe an email, or you're on the phone. You can now listen to a podcast. You can now be on a phone call. I was folding my laundry in the carpool lane. It wasn't like in the greatest shape, but I was sitting there. I'm like, I gotta sit at home or sit in my car. So I sit and fold laundry in my car. And literally, as I was pulling up to the school to give them the code or whatever to call my kids in, they were like, "Is that your laundry?" I was like, "Yes." They're like,
genius,
so smart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, because then after I was like, oh, okay, great. And the second guy came, he's like, "Is that your laundry?" I was like, yes. He goes, "I need to tell my wife. Like, this is just very very creative with your time management skills." And so basically I got through an entire load of laundry. It's all folded. And guess what I did when I got home? One, here's your pile. Here's your pile.
Go to your room.
Go put this away too. So now they can go put their clothes away. They can go take their shoes off. They can go hang up their backpacks. Go. And now
I think we get along as a parent. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, and up the door, up the stairs. That's so funny. Oh, I love that. Okay. So I've never done that, although my kids take the bus now. What I will say is I have never done that particular thing, but I also share this skill set with you, and I gave it a name. I call this intentional multitasking. So not multitasking like you're trying to check emails while watching a webinar, blah, 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 and your brain like literally can't focus. And we know this, science has told us that, but like basically like batching non-focus needed tasks to like take over the world. So I love it. That is a great example of intentional multitasking. I know someone's going to go do it. I can see some comments from some of our live listeners. I got to let you know before we wrap up, the thing you said that resonated the most, everybody's got it in quotes, is opinions do not equal support. So that really landed with our listeners today. Before we end, Heather, I've got one last question for you. So the mission of the Free Mama is to make sure that no mom has to choose between family and financial stability. So knowing that, all of the amazing things you shared with us today, what's one last piece of advice that you'd have for our listeners? They're all doing what your ideal clients are doing. They're all starting their own business while being moms.
So my whole thing is create your own destiny. I've learned that your life can take a turn in 2 seconds, whether that be a car accident, whether that be your marriage just all of a sudden just blows up, whether that be your health. You can't control what you can't control. And so if you can create your own destiny, you can create your own business, you have to be passionate about it. You have to believe in it, because people will sniff that out and so fast. They can tell that you don't like it or that you're just doing it to do it. It's not going to land the way you want it to land. And so you really do need to be very intentional with how you go about it and stay true to yourself and believe in it. And you have to give it time, especially like when I'm in the social media world. It's not going to be instantaneous where you're just going to grow your following overnight. Like, it is a long game. You have to gain people's trust. And the only way you're going to gain their trust is by being you and giving them value and really pouring everything you can into it and not worrying about if they're going to like you or not, because you don't want the people that aren't going to resonate with you. There's someone else out there for them. You want your people. And it's just super important to also know, like, we're trying to make money. Yes, right? That's the goal. Money is not always everything, but if you know, and sometimes it is. Like I had to make something out of something. Now, my passion project, my chaos control system, like I had to put that on the back burner, make some money with social media. It's just the way I had to go. I had to pivot, but I didn't abandon it. And I still really, truly believe in it. And I feel like it's going to help others. It's just, you also need to know when to pivot, when to move, when to shake, if it's important, and just to be super confident in it and don't get yourself down and really be patient with yourself. It is a learning process. There's reasons why businesses fail because you don't know what you're doing. Ask for help, hire a coach, hire a VA, hire someone to do your website. Don't try to do it if you don't know how. If you try and you fail, it doesn't mean you can't start your business. It just means that you just need some help there and to focus your zone of genius somewhere else. But just to be just create your own destiny. Don't be rely on anybody, because you never know when it's going to just fall from underneath you. And then it'll just take you longer to pick up the pieces, and that's okay. But if you can prepare for the worst and hope for the best, that's my whole thing, right? And trying to have some fun along the way.
I love it. Heather, thank you so much. You guys, we'll put in the show notes over at freemamaradio.com a link both to Chaos and Cookies podcast. You guys can go check it out. Like I said, I was on a few weeks ago. You can go listen to that episode.
Yes, go listen to that.
The family playbook and an Instagram boot camp as well. So if some of the things that she talked about that she teaches resonates with you, we'll show you guys how you can get access to those things. Heather, thank you so much for being here today. It was great to get to know you better and to have you pour into all the free mamas.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully I was helpful with some.
Absolutely. All right, let's go enjoy those cookies together. All right, have a great day.
All right.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Free Mama Radio. Don't forget to check out FreeMamaTV right here on YouTube for hundreds of how-to videos and interviews to help you start, grow, and scale a virtual business from home. If you want to join a community of tens of thousands of moms just like you, make sure you join the Free Mama Movement group over on Facebook. And lastly, if you want to learn more about how we can do this together, work to achieve your goals, and make you our next success story, check out my free training at thefreemamamovement.com. I'll see you next time.